with my mom for a little while for the summer because I had gotten a job that was right down the street from her house, which was pretty easy for me because I didn't have to cross the bridge every day and all that. Anyway, I was just staying with her for a little while since the job was temporary as well. So my entire family went to my mom's beach house for an entire week and I couldn't go because I had to work. I was supposed to be alone, but my brother didn't go either because he just wanted to stay home and play video games all week. So anyway, I got home from work. I was very tired, but I had to go to the store to get something. I do not remember what it was. This was like years and years ago. But I was just super tired and lazy AF. It's just me. And the store was just like down the street and I didn't want to go, like I said. So I asked my brother if he could go for me and he was like, okay. He goes to the store for me. I stay home, I'm on my phone texting my friend. Just like talking about funny stuff. I wasn't even scared or anything because every time I tell the story to someone, they're like, maybe because you love spooky things and you read about this stuff all the time, that's probably why you think you saw something. And I'm like, I didn't even have a YouTube channel back then, bitch. I used to like spooky things, but I wasn't always like reading about it and doing research and all that. Anyway, I was just like texting my friend like I said. I'm looking down at my phone and it had only been like 2 to 3 minutes since he left. So yeah, I'm looking down at my phone when I see something that looks just like my brother walking down the hallway. So I'm here, this is the door, and there's the hallway. So I see this thing just like walking down the hallway looking at me. And the strangest part is that I say it was looking at me, right? It was just like with his head looking at me, but like I couldn't see a face. It did not have a face. But since I was like so distracted looking at my phone, I thought it was my brother, but it was not. That thing was not him. And so I remember I asked him like, did you get my thing? Again, I don't remember what it was. So I asked him, did you get my thing? I say his name. I'm like, did you get my thing? And I don't hear a response. And I ask again and again and again. And all I hear is this eerie silence. And that's when I realized that freaking door at my mom's house, it's like hella loud. So if that was him, I would have heard him, of course. So that's when I come to the conclusion that that was not him. And I had this feeling, like this awful feeling that, you know, when something so like weird, bad, or just like unexpected happens to you and you think it's like a dream, but it's not, it's really happening. That's how I felt. My whole body went numb because at first, like, I didn't think it was something paranormal. I thought someone broke into the house, but it was like, how? We lived on the 5th or 6th floor. I don't even remember. I wasn't there much. And the thing had no face. It was wearing a hat. My brother was wearing a hat too. It had like, it looked just like him. And what I heard is like from experts is that maybe that's like the reason why I saw the thing like that was simply because he was the last human person I had seen. So yeah. That's a little too freaky because the thing I saw, it was like too much for a human eyes to like see. Does that make any sense? I feel like it never makes sense. Basically, human eyes cannot see that, so it will show itself to you as the last human person you saw. Let's put it that way. But like I said, it had no face. So already knowing that it is not him, I started looking for my keys so I could get the hell out of there. I didn't know if that was paranormal, if it was not. I was just like so confused. I had that feeling where my whole body was like numb and I was like so scared and it didn't feel real. I felt like it was a dream, but also I knew it was real. It's just like so complicated to explain. I was looking for my keys and I couldn't find them and I was still inside the room. I wanted to get the hell out of there, but I kind of like froze. I didn't want to get out because I felt the thing out there. I knew it was out there. I knew that it was like out there waiting for me to get out. And you know when the whole like atmosphere in the place is just like so heavy? I don't know if you know this, but yeah, I could feel it. So I was scared out of my mind because like I said, I did not know if it was something paranormal or if a creep had just like broken into my house, you know? Just like incredibly hard to tell. It was just like freaking the hell out. Because even if you're not a skeptic, you say you believe in this stuff, when you see it, it's like completely different, especially when it's like as clear as day, you know? That was the day I started believing 100% And like months later, I started my YouTube channel. But it wasn't just for like paranormal videos, it was about everything. And then it slowly turned into a paranormal channel. So what I did was, when I freaked the hell out, I just prayed so hard with so much faith, and I saw that I could not accept that thing in my house, and that it was not welcome there, and that the house was protected. And then I kept praying, feeling better and better, and I felt the atmosphere just getting like lighter. I know it sounds absolutely insane, but it is what it is. That is one of the scariest thing, the realest thing that has ever happened to me. So yeah, when my brother got home, I told him everything, and it's like, it's crazy. Everybody thought it was crazy. Whatever. But I know what I saw, and yeah, it just freaks me out. It freaked me out for so long. The story is all about this little girl who goes to her grandparents' house and experiences something really strange. So it was around 6 o'clock at night when her and her friends, and cousins as well, were just playing hide and seek in the backyard. It was still light out because it was summer, and she was just looking for her cousin. She thought they were hiding behind the bushes, and that is when she sees this little girl in a white dress. Her hair was in a pigtail, and she was just running towards the backyard. She was a little far away, so she thought it was her sister. So she calls out, but the girl says nothing. She was now running towards a little garden they had. So she was like, "Stop, I found you, you're out." She got a little mad and started running towards her because she was being ignored by what she thought was her sister. So I think the little girl heard her just like running towards her and stopped running and started walking slowly in a very, that's what she said, in a very creepy, chilling way. I know exactly what she's talking about. You know, when you see those horror movies where the ghosts are like walking funny, it's like, but the strange part is that even though the girl stopped running and was just like walking, the other girl, oh my god, this is confusing. The other girl could not catch up to her. She was running and the ghost girl was just like walking slowly. It was like, what the hell? That's like not even possible, you know? It was definitely something paranormal. She said she was running super freaking fast. So the little girl stops walking, the ghost girl, and she just turns around and looks at her. And to her surprise, it was not her sister, obviously. This little girl was very pale and looked like she was ill, like incredibly ill. So the other girl got a little freaked out, of course, and she asked her, "Who are you? What are you doing here? And most importantly, how did you get in here?" I mean, she wasn't this rude. I'm trying to be rude. I don't know if she asked nicely or not, but yeah. Because what was freaky is that the yard had like a brick wall around it, just to keep the kids protected so that I just could play like freely. So what this little girl does, the ghost girl, she points at her grandparents' house without saying a freaking word. So her aunt comes outside to tell them to just like go back to the house because it's about to get dark and all of that. So she turned around and said, "In a minute," but when she looked back, the little girl was gone. She looked for her for days and days. So she finally told her aunt all about it, but she was like, "You know, I don't care if nobody believes me. I'm a kid. I'ma just tell them what I saw because it's driving me crazy." And she was just like literally looking for the girl for days and days nonstop before she told her. So to her surprise, her aunt said that when she was a kid and she used to play out in this backyard with her friends, her parents, and everybody else, she saw the same little girl in a white dress with pigtails, just like pointing at the house and saying nothing. As her aunt was telling her this, she teared up a little bit because she realized that what she feared would be true was actually true. And that is the fact that the little girl was not alive. I think her aunt saw her a couple of times or a little more, but yeah. Okay, so this story is about this girl who notices her little brother talking to someone. So she goes up to him and sees nobody. He was talking to himself. So she asks, "Who are you talking to?" He then says, "Just a little girl with the black eyes." That immediately sent chills down her spine because she had heard about black-eyed children before. A week after that, they started hearing footsteps in the middle of the night, seeing things out of the corner of their eyes, and it literally felt like the house was haunted. They would feel something pulling their blankets in the middle of the night. And one night, this girl heard knocking on the door, the front door. Someone was banging on the door, and they were aggressive. She immediately ran downstairs, tried to open the door because she was fed up. She thought someone was pranking her maybe, and the door wouldn't open, as if someone was holding the handle from the other side. She was like, what the hell is this? What's going on? And when her mom showed up, the door opened. They checked all the cameras and nobody was outside. Now how terrifying is that? So this girl was saying that she thinks her brother actually invited a black-eyed child inside their home. And once invited, they can't leave. So could that be what happens if you say yes? They tried to bless the house and everything was kind of calm for a while, but it hasn't stopped completely. They still experience paranormal activity to this day. So just a little backstory. I went to 3 different high schools in El Paso, Texas, due to personal issues. But I was attending El Paso High my sophomore year and attended Austin High School my junior year. All the information you explained in your video was true. Yes, El Paso High was a morgue in the World Wars, and there is a young girl that jumped off the roof. But there is also a floor in El Paso High that was cut off to students. What I was told was that there was another floor, which used to be the first floor, but they tore it down, I believe, in the 80s. It was where they kept the bodies of the deceased. It was cut off for students before they tore it down due to unexplained events. When I attended El Paso High, I was told there were 5 soldiers from the war that have been seen on the football field. There were sightings of nurses on the roof, but one experience I have had was I had to stay for tutoring one day due to me failing math class. Relatable, me. And I went to the bathroom, and other students I attended El Paso High with said the same, that the sinks would turn on by themselves and the hand dryers as well. But when I came out of the bathroom, I saw an apparition of a tall man who was obviously not from this time period. He was dressed in soldier clothing, and I heard what sounded like a click and heard my teacher coming. So I turned around, and when I turned back, he was gone. What I also find extremely interesting is the tunnels underneath El Paso High that connected Austin High School and pretty much ran around the city. They were known to be used in world wars as bunkers. I've heard a lot of stories from El Paso High and Austin High that sound quite similar. I wonder if it's because of the tunnels connecting like the two together, you know what I mean? They both had the story of the girl jumping off the roofs, but actually what I was told by a few people at El Paso High was that one girl not only jumped off El Paso High, but one girl also hung herself from the bell above Austin High School because she was dumped before prom night. I heard that story, but I think they said that was at El Paso High. Like she said, the stories are similar. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. Again, there are many different stories about the schools, but this is just some of the stories I've heard while attending. But the tunnels were the main terrifying experience that shook me. I actually went down there one time with a few of my friends, and I felt like people were running past me, like the feeling of cold air, and that made every hair on your neck just spike up. I have also heard the sound of rifles being reloaded at night and early morning at El Paso High, along with clicking noises off of a rifle as well, which still gives me goosebumps. Okay, so my great-grandma had this house. It's still there to this day, so she still has it. But from day one, like way back in the day when she had just moved in with her husband, my great-grandpa, she said she started seeing things from day one. And the way she put it is that the house already had something, the land already had something in it, like attached to it. And whatever that was, it was attracting spirits and entities. And every time it would attract something, it's like the spirits, it's like they love that place in a way. It's like they never wanted to leave, or they couldn't, I don't know, but yeah. Let's put it this way. So if they had one spirit, it would attract 2, and then it would attract 3, and you get what I mean, right? And so with time, the house was getting more and more haunted. Okay, so day 1, she was home alone. He had to go to work. She was just minding her own business, cooking, when she literally felt someone walking behind her really fast, as if they were in a hurry. So she was like, whoa, what was that? She turns around and sees nothing. So she's a little freaked out, of course, because the Jews were kind of still working on the house, right? Because I don't know if I mentioned it was just the land and then they started building a house. So she thought, well, maybe it's one of the dudes, right? But they're not supposed to be here today. So what is this? And back then it was like harder to communicate, right? So like today, I can just like check someone and be like, is someone supposed to be here today or what? But no. So all she was left with was fear and doubt. For a split second though, because before she could even say anything and ask, is someone here? She saw a dude just like walk really fast right in front of her eyes. And it's like he didn't even see her. And the chilling part about this, in my opinion, is that the dude, how do I put this? She said that, you know when a kid is throwing a fit? Yeah, that's how the guy was when he was walking super fast. So let that sink in. Imagine how terrifying that must have been. And he was dirty too. And you might say, well, maybe it was one of the dudes that was working at the house. But no, she saw this thing. I don't know if it was a spirit or something else pretending to be a human spirit. She saw this thing disappear right in front of her eyes, just like fade away. Isn't that freaking terrifying? And that's how she knew it was not one of the dudes. She always went to church though, ever since she was a kid, so things like that never scared her. I don't know if everybody who goes to church, they're like this fearless. I can't speak. So both her and my great grandpa, they were used to just seeing the most terrifying things, so that was pretty normal to her. So she just went about her day after she saw that, before she prayed and all of that. I guess her faith was stronger, of course. So as the story goes, this girl was home one night just chilling, you know. She was with her sister just hanging out when she heard strange noises in the basement. She then asked her, yo, did you hear that? And she was like, yes, I heard it. That was really weird. What's going on down there? So they walk over to the basement door, open it slowly, and one of them peek her head around the corner, only to see the most terrifying thing she had ever seen in her life. She described this thing as a scary creature that kind of resembled a human, but it was clearly not human. It resembled a midget wearing a clown suit. That's how she put it. She said that it was clearly not human and very demonic looking. She said that this thing was crawling up the stairs, and the thing was doing that in such a creepy, bone-chilling way. She couldn't even look at it for too long. She was terrified. Just imagine this thing that's clearly not human crawling up the stairs slowly. She said it almost resembled a baby also. I don't know how to explain. I have my own image of it when I close my eyes or when I think about it. I have my own imagination of what it looks like. I'm gonna try to put up a picture if I can find a picture that lives up to my imagination. But yeah, this thing was crawling up the stairs in a very disturbing way. She said that it looked as though the thing didn't have a balance, you know. This girl was so terrified. Her whole body went numb and she couldn't move. I know that feeling very well. It happened to me when I saw that shadow figure when I was home alone. It was like my very first paranormal experience where it felt as though I was dreaming because it was so scary and it was so real. You know when something horrible happens to you and your brain's trying to process that and it feels as though you're in I don't know how to explain, pretty much in a dream. You're like, is this really happening to me right now? You know? That's how I felt, and that's how she felt as well. So the girl was just standing there looking at this thing as it got closer and closer to them. So she said that when she first looked at it and gasped, she was like, oh, the hell is that? The thing, when she looked at it, the thing smiled at her in a very creepy way, and it had a knife and put it in its mouth. She was like, oh shit. So that's when the thing started walking up the stairs. It was no longer crawling, it was walking really fast. It was also smiling the entire time. It was almost as if the thing was enjoying the fact that the girls were terrified. And of course it was. These things feed on fear, which is why I always say, do not give it any attention or show any fear. I know it's hard, but don't give them what they want. The girls were still there, man. They were just looking at this thing. As I got closer and closer to them, I'd be out of there, but she said that she was paralyzed, almost as if she was hypnotized, if you will. So when the thing was almost to the door, it actually tripped and fell, which is kind of funny in my head. But it quickly got up and started running. This motherfucker was running up the stairs. No thank you. I can't even imagine what I would have done. The girl was still there. She was not moving. So her sister quickly grabbed her when the thing was almost through the door again. And she screamed so loud. And when she screamed, the thing started cracking up. That creepy looking clown thing, whatever that was, it started cracking up. Can you imagine that? She said that the clown thing sounded like a child, but in a creepy way. Like a creepy kid laughing, like in horror movies. Oh my god, that is freaky as hell. Bone chilling. I'm running out of words. But I would have died right there if I saw something like that. So when her sister grabbed her, the thing fell once again. It fell down the stairs and they quickly closed the door. She said it looked like the thing had no control of its body. Like I said, it didn't have a balance or anything. It was really struggling to go up the stairs, which is kind of funny, but still terrifying. So after that, they called their dad and he went downstairs shortly after, but nobody, and I mean nobody, was there. Nothing was there. Not even a toy. So what was that thing and what was it doing in the house? So my aunt passed away in 2016 from cancer, and on her last day, well, like everybody at the hospital, they were telling us that it was gonna be her last days, right? It could happen at any moment. And so like I was home that night, and I remember I was asking everybody I knew like to pray for her so that she could like recover. I had hope. But anyway, I was sleeping that night and I see her and she looked, oh, I got the chills. She looked like she did when I met her, which was when she was in her late 30s, early 40s. That's when I met her. She didn't look anything like what she looked when she died, which was she was a little older, and also because of the cancer thing. Anyway, her hair was long. She looked like she was in her late 30s or whatever. And so yeah, I see her. I'm in the dream. That felt like so real. I know that was her. I saw her through the window. She was just like walking by outside. And like I said, I live on the first floor. So you would have to float, right? And that's what she was doing. And then like she was going towards a light or whatever. And so she smiled at me and she waved goodbye. She didn't say anything. And that's when then we found out that she died the next day. And yeah, that is also one of my paranormal experiences. I got a little scared because I don't like seeing anything. I mean, back then, of course. Now I'm like more open to it, but I got a little scared back then because I just knew that was her saying goodbye to me. So yeah. I saw your video asking your fans for spooky stories, and I would like to share with you my paranormal experience. Not totally sure if it could have been demonic or if it was just a spirit. If you can, please clarify if my experience was one of those two. Okay, I'll try, but it's just gonna be my opinion. Anyways, I'll start. When I was around 2 years old, I went to a garage sale with my family. We bought some stuff. My brother saw an old antique toy fire truck and asked my parents to get it. They said no, and we left. A couple of days later, my mom saw the same fire truck in our house. She knew we hadn't bought it, so she threw it away since it was pretty rusty and junky. The next day, my mom saw the fire truck again. What the heck? She figured my brother had took it out of the garage to play with it, so she left it. And by the way, my brother did not take it out of the garage, nor did we take it home. Not long after my mom saw the fire truck, I started to see a boy. He was a kid. I saw him as my brother. Because I had been very close to my brother, I'm gonna change his name. I'm gonna call him Brian. So this person was very close to their brother, Brian. I call him the other Brian. So they call the boy the other Brian, the boy they were seeing. And then they say, I would like this story to be anonymous, so please don't use names. Okay. I would play with this boy and talk to him. I later told my mom about him and again called him the other Brian. She asked me if I meant my brother Brian, and I said no, the other Brian. She thought maybe I had an imaginary friend. That was not the case though. One day, I go down to our basement where I usually saw him to play with him. This time, he was different. He hadn't seemed as friendly as he'd been. Even I could tell that as a 3-year-old. Anyways, I say hi to him and he just looks at me with a cruel look.
and later says,
"I'm gonna get you."
Then he screams at me, but it didn't sound like a normal scream. It sounded kind of demonic. Then I was scared of him. I never wanted to be in the basement alone. I had told my parents what the other Brian had done. My dad hadn't believed me since he had never believed in the paranormal. But my mom knew that it could be real since I had described so much that I could not be lying. A few days later, my mom was cleaning a room in the basement, and I was down there too, but I wasn't in the same room as her. I told her not to close the door since I was scared that the other Brian would get me. She didn't until she had to, so she could clean the floor. That's when I saw him. He looked at me with that same look, but this time just stared, didn't say anything, until he started to run at me. I ran away to the room my mom was in and told her that he was chasing me. She could just see by looking at my eyes, seeing the fear in them, that this was paranormal. She told me that the next time I see him, I should tell him that he wasn't real and tell him to go away. She did contact some people that deal with paranormal stuff and described what I had saw, and they did confirm that it was indeed paranormal. So they asked to come over, and she didn't say anything because she knew my dad wouldn't allow it. So the next time I saw him, I told him that he wasn't real and that he needs to go away. He screamed at me again. Oh my god, I got chills. He screamed at me again, and this time it makes me sure that it was a demon since the sound it made was so horrible. Sounded just like ones from movies. Sorry that the story was so long, but it would make me happy if you did post this on your social media. I would like to know what those people think it was. Thank you so much, and thank you for sending me the story. It was so scary. I'm looking down because I'm reading it from my computer, okay? This has been terrifying me to my very core. I don't know what is happening, and at first I took it as a joke, but there is something in my house and it won't stop bothering me. It will not go away. The first time this happened, it was nearly dawn on a Friday. I got up to use the restroom and was still sleepy. I swear to everything that I heard the sound of a woman sobbing. Sounds like I don't know. I lived alone at the time. I was terrified and thought maybe someone had broken into my house. The sound got closer. Slowly, I froze. Should I open the door? I asked myself. But suddenly, the sound was not coming from outside the bathroom anymore. It was coming from the mirror. I got chills all over and slowly turned to see the figure of a woman that did not look like she was of this world. She had tears that seemed kind of dark tears coming from her eyes. Her hair was all messed up and really dark as well. She seemed as though she was naked, but I couldn't tell. She was looking at me through the mirror as if she was behind me. Ew! Good God, this is so creepy. It's okay. I didn't read the whole thing the first time around. Okay. I quickly turned around, but no one was there. This eerie silence took over, and I got sick, very sick to my stomach. I ran out of the bathroom and started praying. I couldn't sleep for days. After a while, I remembered I had gotten drunk one night with a friend, and we both played the Ouija board in that bathroom. It kept spelling, leave, and get out of my house. But we just figured one of us was moving it. We took it as a joke, and you should never, ever do that. I know this now. Oh my God. I still see this woman every once in a while. I feel as though she's in my room at night. Sometimes I see her standing by my bed. Sometimes when I'm outside, I see her staring at me through the window. I just do not know what to do. She does not harm me or anything, but she scares the living hell out of me. I don't know what to do. I just don't. I can barely look in the mirror anymore because I often see her there the most. What does she want? Did we summon her? I can't sleep. I can't eat. I just want her gone, but she won't leave. My gosh. Okay, so I'm all for the Ouija board, but if you don't know what you're doing and you have that mindset that you're gonna attract something bad, that's gonna happen to you.
The first one is about this woman. It happened to me, of course, but when I was a kid, I have no idea how old I was. Probably, I don't know. I don't want to guess, but I think 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6. I don't know. It's just anyway, so I was in a shower. Someone was giving me a shower. Of course, I was a little kid. And there was this window, okay? The shower's here. And then like there's a little window. It's not like it's not really high. It's kind of in the middle or whatever, but it's kind of blurry too. So if someone is on the other side, they can't see inside. But nobody would be on the other side because the other side was like out that window. It was, what the hell is that thing called? I don't know. It's just that there was no way anybody could just like look. You know what I mean? Because like I was high on the first floor. Course, and it was super high. The person would have to freaking float, you know. But anyway, I see this woman. She had kind of like a purple bluish skin, which was freaky, you know. And if you look this stuff up, which is a little too much, if you're sensitive, don't do it. But like when the oh my god, the body of someone who passed like is starting to decompose, you know. So there's that weird color. Ew. Sorry, I don't want to freak anybody out, but this is a paranormal channel, whatever. If you're sensitive, don't look it up, but if you know what I mean, even better. So she had that look to her, and she had gray hair. She had it up in a bun, and she was an old lady, probably in her 70s or 60s. More, I think older, because, you know, I don't think 60s old. But I remember that woman this day, like I was in the shower, I saw her. And she had this mad look in her face. She was just like staring at me. And because she looked so hideous that day, and I was a kid, I was like scared. And then all of a sudden, I know this is gonna sound silly, but like, can you imagine someone looking like that? Something looking like that, looking at a kid, and then just like go and stick their tongue out. She was like, which was like, I know it sounds silly, but back then, to a kid, that was terrifying. And she was trying to scare me. But anyway, that wasn't the first time I saw that thing. I had been seeing that woman, that spirit, whatever that was, for a while. But since I was a kid, I didn't know, I didn't know better, you know? I thought it was just like a friend of the family or whatever. I would see her in the living room all the freaking time, just like, she would always watch over me. And I liked her, but I would always ask, who is that? And my family, they would just like act like, you know, it's just a kid, it's just like an imaginary friend or whatever. She was my imaginary friend. I know kids and animals, they can see things. We can't, because they're so pure and they're more connected to the spirit world. So yeah, like the veil that kind of blocks us from seeing things, from seeing the other side, things we're not supposed to see or hear. It's just like very, very thin with kids and animals. Maybe they don't even have any veil. At least the animals, I don't know about the kids. I think it's just thin with them. But yeah, I would always see this woman watching over me, and she never said anything. And she seemed very nice, and she wasn't like, her appearance didn't look like she was decomposing or anything, except for that day. And then after she did that, she tried to scare me. I just like screamed and cried so much. So after that day, I never saw her again. And isn't this lovely? Keep hearing things as I'm filming, as I'm alone, as always. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I never saw her again after that. And that is one of the earliest paranormal experiences I can remember. And then I asked my family, to this day, I asked them about her, and they just don't know. To them, it was an imaginary friend, but I remember her as clear as day. And I will never believe in this whole imaginary friend crap, because like I said, I think kids can see things we cannot. I'm pretty sure they can. So yeah, that's my paranormal experience, so one of them anyway. I'm getting the chills. I think I'm gonna have to stop tonight. So the story is all about this guy who experienced something really, really creepy on Halloween night years ago when he was a kid. So his family never really understood Halloween, like the purpose of Halloween. To them, it was just a waste of time, and they didn't want to spend money on costumes and have their kids risk their lives going to strangers' house to get candy, which if you think about that, kind of like, that makes sense. But I love Halloween, so I'm not gonna say anything. Of course, I'm gonna let my kids go trick-or-treating. I'm gonna come with them, but you know. Anyway, to them, that was just like a waste of time, like I said, and also dangerous. So sadly, they never really celebrated Halloween. What they would do is they would just like stay home and watch scary movies, get their own candy, which in a way that's kind of like celebrating, but yeah. So that night, they were all watching a movie as always, but the boy was starting to like get bored, so he started to fall asleep, and then he woke up immediately. He was like, no, I'm not gonna waste my night. So he decided to go up to his room and draw. He absolutely loves drawing. He would carry his little sketchbook everywhere. So anyway, he went up to his room, opened the door, and everything was dark. The window was open and it was kind of windy. As he turned to his right to turn on the lights, he was faced with the most disturbing image he had ever seen in his life. And this thing was outside his window. So what he saw was the head of a pig. But he said it wasn't an ordinary pig. The flesh seemed to be beaten so freaking bad. The snout ripped apart. The left eye was cut out and the ears ripped off. He saw that the only detail that stood out the most was the fact that the thing, like its eye, it was glowing red. As the boy stood there, paralyzed with fear, just looking at this thing in the dark, all he could think about was, I need to get the hell out of here. But at the same time, it was like the thing was hypnotizing him, paralyzing him. He couldn't blink. He couldn't move. He could not say anything. All there was left to do was stare at this thing, this horrible thing. So as soon as he was free to go, as soon as he was able to move, he just got the hell out of there, of course. You know what's creepy to me? When, like, they mix animals and demonic entities, or just like, I don't know, that kind of reminds me of, I don't know, but like something really dark. I don't like it. It's just like, I don't like it. It's just so scary. Nobody believed him, of course, but he became obsessed with this thing. He became obsessed with finding another case of someone who had seen the same exact thing, which was like a bodiless pig that kind of had demonic features. Whatever the hell that was. He was obsessed with that thing. Because it's easy, you know, when you see a ghost or a demon or whatever. Like, there are other cases of people who went through the same thing. But seeing a pig, a demon-like pig, that's not very common, I must say. So for years and years, he did research about this thing, and with time, he found out about the Amityville Horror. Remember that movie? The Amityville case? I don't know if you know about this. You probably do, but if you don't, I'm just gonna summarize it for you. I'm gonna make a video all about that, by the way. I just want to point out the similarity of the story. The Amityville Horror, the Amityville case, talks about this house that's like incredibly haunted, where these gruesome murders took place, right? So, they sold the house to a family, and the little girl in this family, she saw a thing. She used to tell her parents that she would see a thing, a pig-like thing, with glowing red eyes. Like the little girl, she would see the same thing this guy saw. So, yeah, that's pretty strange and very interesting. So, during his research and everything, later on, he came to learn that the family that lived there before them, like years ago, the guy, the father, he had seen the same thing, and he was an adult. So you couldn't just say that it was his imagination, you know? So yeah, that's pretty scary. Ever since I moved into my dad's house, I have been experiencing something paranormal. One night, I was awoken by a noise in my room. I opened my eyes and realized I couldn't move. It is frightening to know you're scared and cannot move. I was basically paralyzed. So I looked over to my vanity room and saw a young boy standing there with red eyes. Oh my god. He seemed to be holding a picture, but I couldn't see what the picture was of. So once I came out of this paralyzed state, I turned over to see that this black figure was standing next to my bed, and it then started to walk away. Yikes. That's just like, anything to do with like things haunting you when you're like in the comfort of your bed, that's just like freaks me out. It's because like when you're asleep, you're very much vulnerable. I began to research. A friend of mine told me about sleep paralysis. I didn't know what sleep paralysis was, and I still don't fully understand it now. My family thinks I'm crazy because of these paranormal things I tell them. Me. I would hear footsteps upstairs and nobody else hears it but me. I know that my mind is not playing tricks on me. I know I hear these things. Another night about a week ago, I was woken up by a noise at the foot of my bed. When I looked, it looked like a woman and she had long, messy hair and was just staring at me. I didn't know what to do, so I tucked under my covers. I would just run. I don't know if this is happening with me or with the house, but it's very scary and nobody believes me. So that is why I feel the need to tell people that would. I often wonder why it is only me and my family that sees and hears these ghostly figures. And there's another story about the same person. Ooh, wow. That's like very scary. It seems like I'm not reading it, but I'm gonna make a part 2 of this video, of course, or should I read it here? So this is going to be my second story. I have another posted. It is called The Child with Red Eyes. And possibly for you to understand this story, you may need to go to the first one. What I just said. I live in Tennessee and I have been dealing with paranormal in my house lately. Well, some of you who already heard about my last story know that these ghost experiences, it all started when I moved into my stepdad's house. I am new to these experiences and they still frighten me today. Well, I have some new things that have been happening to me ever since my last story. One night I was woken up by loud banging on my door. I thought perhaps that was my little brother trying to scare me. So I sat up and said, "What do you want?" It's 3 in the morning, but nobody ever walked in. Then I got a terrible feeling. I know what you mean. I felt as if somebody was watching me. I look towards my door and I see a shadow figure walking away. Oh my god, it sounds like my paranormal experience, like the day I saw a shadow figure, like the thing that made me believe in the paranormal 100%, which I have a video on if you want to check that out. Oh my god, that sounds just like it. It's really freaky. Sorry. Anyway, about 2 days later, I told my stepdad about what happened. He told me that last night, somebody was banging on my sister's door as well. And it also woke her up and kept her up all night long. I was terrified when he told me this. I was just thinking, what does this thing want? And I was determined to find out. So I went on the internet and searched ways to talk to spirits. I was scared to use the Ouija board in fear of possession. I found out something called automatic writing. There are several different names for it though. Anyways, I went up to my room and did exactly what you're supposed to do. I started asking questions and then receiving answers. Ooh. It's getting interesting. I put an old journal together and wrote everything down. I still have this book of the writing as well. I asked its name and many other questions. I'm too scared to use this form of communicating anymore. I was home alone and I just finished a session of talking to them. And I had a strong feeling that somebody very evil and strong was right behind me. I could not take it anymore. It somehow hurt me physically to sit there. So I ran out of the house gasping. I went back in and then it just felt very dark in my house. This feeling like something is wrong. So I didn't go back in the house until someone came home. I know what this person's talking about, like completely. When you know something's there and you know that it is not good, and then you get out of the place and you feel fine, and then you go back in and you feel like crap, basically. You feel like something's not right. And that's happened to me so many times. I would literally stay out until somebody came home. Anyway, and last, my most recent paranormal experience was just last night. I was woken up yet again by someone banging on my wall. I got the bad feeling in my stomach again and tried my best to fall back asleep. Ugh. So once upon a time, the story is thought to be true by the way, this guy was just on the road driving at night and he drives past a car and he notices that there's this old man just sitting there. He was in the driver's seat just staring at nowhere. He was literally staring at nothing. He was wearing a white sweater and had no expression on his face. He was just simply staring ahead. So this dude, he kept driving, but he felt kind of guilty because the man was an old man, like I said. So he thought maybe this old guy had no way of contacting anybody or getting help at all. Or maybe he was feeling sick. I don't know. He just felt guilty. He felt like he needed to help him. So he turned around, he went back to the car, and when he got there, The old man was nowhere to be found. That is when he noticed a young guy in his like 30s or whatever, just talking on the phone, which was very strange. And you might think, well, maybe that's the old man. I mean, maybe he thought it was an old man, but it was actually this guy. But he said he knows what he saw. It was a completely different person. The guy was in a like super wide sweater, which thins out a lot. So he's like, oh, whatever, this is really strange. And he goes up to this dude, the young dude that was on the phone, and he offers help, of course, since he was already there. And so the guy tells him, oh no, thank you so much, but like, I'm good. He was just like, lost. He was visiting a friend. And so the dude was like, okay, but before he left, he asked him about this old man, if he had like a passenger with him. And the guy thought it was a little weird, and he was like, no, it's just me. Which sent chills down his spine. Because like I said, he knows what he saw, which was this old man just like staring at nothing, and it seemed like he was lost. So when he's driving back to wherever he was going, he sees the old man again in the back of the car, just staring at him with an expressionless look on his face. So, like, I know this doesn't sound that scary, but what was that? Was that a ghost? Was that maybe the spirit of like someone who passed away on that road? Or like a spirit attached to this dude that was lost? I don't know. So let's talk about this haunted pool. It all started in the early 2000s when this little girl was just hanging out with her cousins, her friends, whoever else. You know, it's just like the little 70s show gang, friends, sisters, brothers, whatever. Okay, it's nothing like that 70s show. So anyways, they were all hanging out by the pool. They were sitting by the pool, and one of them, this little girl, she was in the pool. She was the only one in there. They were all having a good time playing. She was doing handstands in the water, and I remember I used to do that. It was super fun. I mean, I never thought I could, but then when I managed to do it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know what happened? Not to freak you out. I don't know if I got dizzy under there. I almost drowned. Almost drowned. And my friend, she was with me and she was laughing. She thought I was just playing around, you know, but oh my god, that was so scary. Anyways, back to the story. This little girl was doing handstands in the water, and that's when she hit someone who was right next to her. So as soon as she hit this person, their whole body crashed into hers. She quickly came out of the water to apologize. She was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. As soon as her head came out of the water, she opened her eyes and fully saw what was going on. She noticed her friends were looking at her as if she was kind of crazy, you know. They were like, what the hell? Who are you talking to, you know? Oh, girl, you're the only one in the water. But of course, she thought they were only pranking her. She was all like, haha, very funny. Stop lying. I hit somebody and I know it was you. I'm not mad at you for bumping into me. I'm just saying sorry because I hit you pretty hard. And they're all like, what are you talking about, bro? We've been playing cards for the longest time. Look at us, we're dry. As soon as she looked at them and realized they were all dry, she got chills all over. She immediately got out of the pool and went inside. Of course, anyone would have done that. However, she said this was the first of many, many more experiences at that house, and especially at that pool. There was just something off about the pool, you know, probably because it was haunted. She really believes that her house is haunted and claims to have always had a bad vibe about that place. And this was from the moment her mom bought the house. And after that one experience at the pool, things just got worse. She's seeing the full body apparition of a little girl right there by the pool. Sometimes she'd even be in the pool. She's seen shadows in her room and had horrible bone-chilling nightmares nearly every single night. And going in the pool wasn't even enjoyable anymore because she was absolutely sure something was in there with her. So, of course, we were all waiting for this. But later on, they all learned that the previous owners of that same house had a child, a little girl. She was about 4 years old, and she tragically drowned in that pool. Nobody really knows what happened, but she must have fallen in, and when her parents saw her, it was already too late. So the mother, the current owner of the house, she apologized to her daughter because she was right all these years, and this is why I always believe what kids have to say. Because we can see stuff we can't. This girl got bad vibes from that house from the moment her mom bought it. And she had plenty of paranormal experiences. She would also always ask her mom if someone died there. And her mom was all like, well, of course not. They would have told us. Because by law, they have to tell you. You know, if someone died in the property you're buying, they have to tell you. But they didn't. So it turns out the little girl was right all along. I really don't know if they moved out or not, but I truly hope they cleanse the house and help free that spirit, you know. I don't know, I heard haunted houses are cheap, so I might look into buying one. Just kidding. But I'm kind of me for real though. I don't know. Maybe someday, who knows? Okay, so, you know when you're just sleeping peacefully and you wake up in the middle of the night, like 2-ish, 3-ish, for absolutely no reason. I don't know if that's ever happened to you where you freak yourself out. You're like, what the hell? Because they say that when you wake up for no reason at all, not even to go to the bathroom or nothing, that's because someone or something was staring at you for too damn long. So, yeah, that's very freaky. The story is all about this woman who said she would wake up every single day. Yes, day, not night. Like, you know, super early in the morning, still dawn. She would wake up at around the same time every single day to this little girl by her nightstand in a white gown. And like I said, it would be every single day, no exceptions. It was absolutely more and more chilling each time. She said she did not know what to do anymore. She would wake up randomly. She would even be scared of opening her eyes because she would always see this girl there every single time. And as time went by, the little girl would be brushing her hair. Came to a point where she would do this every day. She would just be like brushing her hair silently and calmly. And the creepy thing about this whole story is that she would hum, "You Are My Sunshine." Don't get me wrong, I love that song, but it is creepy if you wake up to a random ass little girl that's clearly not alive in your house by your nightstand just brushing her hair humming. Even me doing it is creepy. Like, can you imagine that? And I don't know if I mentioned this, as she was doing all of that, she would be looking at the woman through the mirror. Oh my god, I would have moved out of there into a church or something. I don't even know. She said that when she first saw this little girl, she had this most terrifying, chilling feeling that she can absolutely not even explain. She would get sick to her stomach and want to just like throw up, and it was just like this thing that, like I said, she cannot explain. It did not even seem real, yet it was very, very real. She also said that her and her husband, after a couple of times, I mean, she's the only one who saw the little girl, but after a couple of times of her seeing her, her and her husband started hearing like weird stuff in the middle of the night. Mostly like kids just running around the house, and then footsteps, and sometimes giggles. Yikes. They finally, after all of that happening, came to the conclusion and came to accept that the house was in fact haunted AF. So I'm not sure what happened afterwards, if they moved, if they just kept on living there, but yeah. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night only to see something absolutely terrifying right in front of your eyes. So as the story goes, this 10-year-old boy feels as though someone is sitting on his bed, and that's in the middle of the night. You know when someone sits on the bed and it kind of sinks a little under the person's body when they take a seat? So yeah, that's what he felt. And he was kind of scared, but told himself, it's probably just my mom. But he was very, very wrong. He opened his eyes only to be face to face with a ghostly figure of a little boy with no eyes. He was just there sitting at the foot of his bed. And when this kid looked at him, he extended his hand like this, and in his hand was a little tiny box. Even though the boy was terrified, he reached out. And that's when the eyeless boy pulled back, and the kid reached again and said, "Give it." Then he blinked, and the boy was gone and nowhere to be found. 5 years later, the kid now had a girlfriend and she was over at his house. They were doing some homework, and as she was waiting for her parents to pick her up, she fell asleep, so she was taking a nap. But when her parents got there, the boy tried to wake her up, and she opened her eyes suddenly as she stared at the corner where the wall met the ceiling. She pointed there and then went back to sleep immediately. So the boy woke her up again. "Your parents are here," he said. So this time she woke up, and he told her that she looked kind of haunted. That's the word he used. And that's when she told him that up on the wall, she saw a little boy with no eyes. He was just there in a Spider-Man pose. Which, can you imagine how terrifying that must have looked? It's just bone chilling. I can even imagine that. And that's when her boyfriend told her what happened 5 years ago. Another 5 years went by. He was still with the same girlfriend, and they had a kid together. The kid was 2 years old. They were living in his parents' house, the same house where all of that happened, in the same room. And he said that his daughter would wake up in the middle of the night every single night, and she would just talk as if she was talking to someone. It would always be the same thing. So one night, he decided to ask her, "Honey, who are you talking to?" And that's when she told him it was a little boy who seemed very nice, but he was lost and was looking for his mom. So yeah, he said that after that, she still kept on waking up every single night and talking to this boy. And the hauntings never stopped. It only stopped once they moved out of there. So yeah. My mom lived in a haunted house, and I was living with her for a little while, not long, just like spending the summer or whatever. So that house was haunted because before it was her house, there used to be kind of like this place where they would practice black magic and stuff and do sacrifices and all that stuff, like way back in the day, before it was a house, right? The house was haunted. I have so many stories about the house. I gotta tell you all of them when I remember it, because I don't want to make this video too long. But anyway, so I told my brother, my little brother, that I had heard like this giggle, kind of like in a mockery way, in my mom's room, which was locked. Nobody was there. She would always lock it when she left the house, right? So I had that freaking giggle like 3 or 4 times, and I thought it was crazy. And then I showed my brother, and he was like, "Oh, you always come up with this stuff." He's a skeptic, right? And he was. And then he heard it too, but it was so freaking loud. Like the thing wanted us to hear it, wanted him to like hear it, especially because it didn't believe it, right? So yeah, that's another paranormal story of mine. We did check to see if anyone was there, not us, but like my mom, because we called her. It was so clear we thought someone was in the house, it was in her room, but the door was locked, you know? And it was on the 4th floor, I think, or 5th. I don't remember, but her house was on the 5th floor. And she checked and nobody was there. So ever since my grandma's passing, my mom has been on a spiritual journey, and she's been seeing and hearing things a lot. To be honest, she's always been very witchy, very spiritual, if you will. I like to say witchy, but I believe it's kind of like the same thing. Anyway, you know what I mean. And she always shares her experiences with me. But this one was actually really freaking scary. And if such thing ever happened to me, I would have probably freaked the hell out. She handled it pretty well though. So last week she went to go get her lashes done. I don't really know what that procedure is called, but they put like lashes on you one by one, and it takes a long time. So she said that sometimes while her eyes are closed, she just falls asleep, you know? So this one day she fell into a state where she was dreaming, but also aware of her dream, which doesn't surprise me because she was pretty much laying on her back, you know? So she said that when she fell into this state, she saw a spirit. It was the spirit of this woman, and there's a way, like, at least with me, I know when I have dreams, if whoever I'm seeing is a spirit or just like random people dreaming or like my part of my subconscious mind, whatever, but I know the difference. I don't know how, I just do. So anyway, she saw the spirit of this woman who looked like she'd been in a terrible accident. And that's how her spirit showed itself to my mom. That's how my mom saw her. So she was probably still attached to her physical body, or perhaps her life here on earth. My mom said that her hair was all messy and her face was really deformed and kind of bleeding. Oh my god, that gave me chills. This woman was desperately screaming. She started out by saying she was very ugly and that she needed help. She started saying, "Help me," to my mom in a very demanding way. And very like she was, I don't know how to explain. It was as if she was desperate. That's how my mom put it. Okay, hold that thought real quick. I am editing the video currently, and I couldn't help but notice that the entity or the spirit that my mom saw, we don't really know if it was a spirit or just an entity, but I can't believe I didn't notice this before. She was saying that she's ugly and all of that, and she was at a beauty place, at a beauty salon pretty much. And I wonder if she used to go there before she died or something. But yeah, I just thought I would share that with you because it's really interesting and I can't believe I didn't mention that in the video. Makes me wonder if her spirit actually went there for help. Because remember, not all spirits know that they're dead. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Anyways, let's get back to the video. She was desperate for help. She wanted my mom to help her. So that's when she jumped on her. She jumped on my mom and tried to attack her. She was trying to bite her and my mom was all like, "Please stop, it's gonna be okay." My mom was trying to comfort her somehow. She was all like, "It's gonna be okay." She was saying that over and over. "You're okay now," you know, stuff like that. She was all calm about it too. She even was surprised about her reaction. She was like, "How come I'm not scared of this? How come I didn't like freak out or anything, you know?" And then as my mom was saying that, the woman was like, no, "I'm so ugly. Look at me. Look at me." She was trying to get my mom to look at her. She was like, "Look what happened. Look what they did," or something like that. My mom said she had to hold her mouth like this, kind of like, I don't know if you know what I mean, but like this, to keep her from biting her. She was still trying to make her feel better, comforting her. Even though the spirit was trying to attack my mom, she was really calm and trying to help her. And then she said, "Let's pray together, I can help you." And my mom started praying. She was holding her mouth with one of her hands and the other one was on her head. The woman kept screaming though for a long time, but my mom never stopped praying. She started telling her, "Follow God, follow the light. You're okay now. You don't have to feel this pain anymore." My mom said she doesn't even know how she knew how to say that. She said it just came to her naturally and that she's very surprised she didn't freak out. She was all like, "It's okay to let go, be at peace," you know? And the woman kept just like, "No, I'm ugly, this and that," and trying to bite her. And my mom said, "No, listen to me. Ask God, ask the angels for help." Because I believe, and my mom believes this as well, that there is something on the other side after you pass that will help guide you. But from what I read, you must ask for help. You must be willing to receive the help. So then after a while of my mom just praying so much, the woman started looking prettier and prettier. And she said she saw kind of like a light radiating from her. And she suddenly changed her attitude just like that. She was all like, "Oh my God." She was surprised. She was like, "Thank you so much. You really helped me." And she just vanished. So what my mom said is that she really thought this was real. I mean, it did happen like on the other side, I'm pretty sure. But she thought that like it was so vivid and so real that she was embarrassed because she thought the woman heard everything. The woman who was doing her lashes, she thought the woman heard every single word, all the prayers and everything. She believes that that was her higher self who did that, because if it was her, she would have freaked out. So I thought that was so interesting. And I asked her if I could share it with you, and she said, "Oh yeah, of course."